Okay, we're back now to look at your diagrams.
Yeah. So what I was explaining before is we have just hold it out there, and we have the synthetic universe that's inside the grand cosmic arena. And don't forget, this is the multiverses here as well. So
Right,
this is affecting other universes as well, yeah, in the multiverse. And what we've got is an entity that's created its own version of that, okay,
right.
of waveform of light. So, and in that, it's created its own dialectic. So if we could have a more focused view in that now, okay. So I've
Right.
created this diagram. These are all in my book, but I'll supply these diagrams for everybody watching this as well with Alfred. And it's created, this is its own version that it's created, and it's got its own positive and its own negative. And here I've got the loving God of religion, yeah. And here I've got Satan, the devil. So you've got this dialectic that this entity has created, and it's ensnaring or apprehending people inside that dialectic. See, it's
Right.
luring people into its own version of light.
Yeah.
It's created its own version of it, and in there is the love that people experience in those realities is I call it conditional love. Um, I'll just change the speaker view so I could see you better. I call it conditional love
Uh,
because conditions apply with that love. It's like if you're going to enter into God's heavenly realms, then you have to pray to God. You have to give him lots of money, right? You have to, well, in some ways you do, some expressions of that entity you do. You have to totally devote or give yourself over to that energy, as your superior, as your maker, basically. Because, that's the printer. We're talking about ownership. So the way it works is really it seeks ownership, but it's really custodianship under the guise of love. This is how it functions. This is what we're dealing with. And, when we can understand that, Alfred, and we can understand that, this thing has infiltrated into this incredible fractal process. And I've got this diagram here, and I hope you can see that. And I'll try and get this light onto it there. And it's come into the galactic arena, into the solar arena, into the planetary arena, and into the human arena, and then, our internal arena, our mind. And I've got this sort of thin line, and you can see it's like a jagged line where this energy has infiltrated into each one of these arenas. And this is our birthing point here when we come. I've got a fan going, that's why it's wobbling. It's quite warm here. And we birth out, and that's 0 point there. That is the point where inside of ourselves where we implode, yeah, and I'll just get that out of my eyes. We implode and we turn inside out, and we become a fully integrated being of everything that we have seen, done, and been in our journey through this entire universe, and then our journey through this fractal process. And it's kind of like we go through, expressing ourselves, through all these dimensional realms. We go into every reality possible, every little nook and cranny, and experience all the different, expressions of light. We've then entered into this fractal path, and then it's kind of like a meeting place. So our internal arena, inside our arena internally, is the meeting place of the journey that we have taken through there, and this aspect of us here. So it's like the two are coming together. That's the meeting place of our soul, what I call our soul and our traveling spirit.
right.
And when we can understand that there's this other entity out there who's claiming a whole lot, like it's not only claiming to be the creator of this universe, it's also claiming to be the creator of all that is and all that exists on all levels of everything, of all the isness of life. It's the most. I said to those guys in the Vatican, I said, "You're God," and I did it with a lot more passion and a lot more energy. I'm really, I'm not going to go there now in that energy. But I said, "Your God is suffering from the greatest egoic insanity that this universe has ever seen." That is fact. That's it. And I said, and you need to come to terms with that reality. And the sooner you come to terms with it, the better off you're going to be, and the better off this world's going to be. Because it's time for this being to be exposed for who and what it truly is. And words are vibrational patterns. And if I put this challenge to everybody listening to this, because I've put this challenge to people in my workshops, in my live presentations that I do. I put the challenge out to people, thousands of people all over the world. And they are absolutely astonished the moment they enter into this task, if you want to call it that way. I'm going to put the challenge to you to not use the word God, but instead use universal creator or whatever other descriptive you like to use. But do not use that word. And then become aware of how many people around you are using it. Because if you understand the dynamics and the machinations of energy and creational realities, every time you use that word, you go, oh my God, or God's willing, or it's God's will, God's law, blah, blah, blah. Every time you do that, you're attributing the energy of the creational process in that given moment to that entity. So each time someone says, oh my God, it's ka-ching, you're creating an energetic deposit, which is kind of like a monetary deposit. It's this entity has created the greatest energetic economic collective in human history. And when you can view it cosmically like I have, yeah? When I integrated with my soul, I got to experience the entire universe. I saw where this entity resides. This entity called God, this entity called Yahweh. I saw where it resides. Yeah, I was watching the energy of all the intention of the people on earth who are praying, who are saying, "Oh my God," who are intending all that energy just flowing out, and this entity is just sucking it all up, becoming more powerful and more powerful all the time, because never ever has it been fed so much power, because we are fractals of the universe. We have access to more life force, Alfred, than any other race. And when we worship, wow, do we worship. And that entity, we're talking about, it's like a drug addiction. It has become, the powerful entity has become because of our worship. And when we stop feeding it that worship, then it will go back to being the entity it truly is. It'll be frightened, it'll be insecure, it'll be terrified, and its lust for power, its lust for control will be greatly diminished. And this is what I've got to deal with behind the scenes. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So I wanted to go back to where we began and just ask you, are there topics that you perhaps wanted to touch on that we haven't yet been able to address here that you wanted to bring up?
Sure. In August, this is really interesting because what I'm about to share is another one of those really crazy experiences that I've had, and there's a reason why I'm sharing this. Now, this is an operation I was involved in back in August,
Hmm.
first week of August of 2015,
Right.
and this has to do with a secret space program. Now, I've been quiet up until now. I have not mentioned this on any other interview.
Huh.
And I've been quiet up until now
Right.
about the event. And I've been waiting for the whistleblowers, and they haven't come out with it. And I find that really interesting because this is a pretty big deal. So I was involved from the capacity of me as part of I'm going to use this descriptives, Galactic Council, for want of a better descriptive, yeah? And part of the Orion and the Syrian High Councils, for want of a better descriptive, right? I'm just using languaging that people are familiar with. So whatever it means in your mind, that's none of my business anyway. So we were involved in an operation where we kind of apprehended, okay, which is a word I was reluctant to use, but I don't know how else to explain this. The leading craft from the secret space program. Now, I'm sharing this because I want the people who are involved in these programs, they know who I am out there. I now want them. It's time. My being has said it is now time for them to know who I am in here.
Hmm.
Get that?
Hmm.
And also the people who are involved in these programs, and they know no one's come out and said this, but they're in the know about this. They're also going to know that I know. And it's going to be validation for them that I'm
Okay.
not some crazy lunatic flying off on a tangent, because they know this happened and they freaked out that this happened. So what we did was we warned them not to build this craft a long time ago. But because of this, what I call factional alignment of the military industrial complex, under the influence is a good word to use. I won't use another one. I'll use that word. Under the influence of a particular faction of an extraterrestrial group, they went ahead and built this craft anyway. And so what we did was we observed them and watched them build it. Now, the interesting thing was they thought they were building it in alternate realities where no one would find it. But they underestimate what beings like us are capable of, what beings like you, Alfred, and people they don't know what you're capable of, okay? When you are one with a galactic reality, with a galactic being, you are one with the galactic being in that galactic reality. So therefore, you know everything that goes on in that galaxy. You have access to it. Because they can't hide anything. It's that simple, yeah? This isn't an ego trip for George. This is just a natural relationship with the being who is the creator of this galactic reality, yeah? It's normal. This is the organic way of life. This is the natural order. This is how we do things, yeah? So we observed them watching this, building this craft, and it had the capacity to blow up entire planetary systems, for
Hmm.
real, yeah? This is the firepower this thing had. So we warned them not to do it over and over again, and then we took a step back, and we knew they were going to do it anyway, because of that alignment, factional alignment. And it got to the point where we had to take action. So we went first to the leaders of the secret space program.
Hmm.
We spoke with them. We communed with them. We told them what we were here to do. We told them, we warned them, and that now we have to take action.
Is
So
this
what we
face to
did was,
face or in the astral that or out of body? Is this face to face?
okay, I didn't do this as George. Yeah, that's a good question. Let me explain to the listeners how this actually worked. Okay, so I was given access to that part of my being and what I was doing as that expression of my being.
Hmm.
So I was given access to that. So I wasn't there as George.
Right.
Yeah. Remember, George, this is the incarnational construct for this human life on planet Earth. Yeah. At the same time, we have other aspects out there doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Countless, really. You're incarnated as planetary systems. You are stars. You are galactic realities. You are countless expressions of flora and fauna and aquatic kingdoms in a myriad of realities out there. Yeah. We are vast creator beings expressing ourselves in countless forms.
Mm-hmm.
We've been diminished so much in the way of our thinking. So that aspect of my being, granted this aspect of my being access to that because of what I need for my progress in this world. So I was there as me, not as George, but I was fully in that body, expressional body that I was in that reality. And I was in the craft, and we were dismantling the craft. We were turning it back into energy. So we didn't actually apprehend the whole craft. We didn't steal the craft. Yeah. I just want to make that clear. What we did is we dismantled the craft, and not just the weapon system, but the entire craft, and said, you will not express this energy in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And you should have seen the look of the horror of the people in the craft when we were there doing it.
Mm.
Because, Alfred, you've got people that are bred inside the secret space program. And they are bred from young to perform a specific task with a specific piece of technology. They fully become integrated with that technology. Because it's not like someone goes and puts hands on the controls to make something happen. He's very antiquated, right? You merge and become one with the craft and the section of the craft, especially that you are operating with.
Right.
And, you are completely infused with it as one. So people were bred just for those tasks. So I was dismantling their whole existence. It was like I was tearing a piece of them. I was killing a part of them. That's how it felt to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt bad because of that. Yeah. I felt sad. But that was the reality of what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were projecting so much horror and anger and hatred and despise and disdain towards me. It was really quite an intense moment. So this happened in the first week of August 2015. I haven't heard anyone come out with it, and I urge everybody to check with all their sources about this. And this is sent a shockwave, another shockwave through that system, through that empire, and through the factional alignment. So the empire that they're in alignment with, the beauty of this is the military industrial complex and the secret space program are like, so who are these beings? That have come here and done this to us.
Right.
You couldn't stop them, they're now saying to the extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't stop them. So what's going on? And this is great because now there's a whole series of questions. This is a Pandora's box that's opening up in the secret space program, and they've got to reassess who they're in alignment with. I really hope some of them are watching this. They are watching it now, and because it's a recorded thing, they're going to watch it later as well, some of them. Because this is a very real issue we have on the planet right now. Alfred, is the agreements that have been made with various groups out there that are all different factions of this God empire. Yeah, remember that God entity has created that dialectic. So you have some really dark entities, heavy, groups of greys, heavy Nordics, like Nordics that look beautiful but are as evil can be. Yeah, got to watch out for those, Alfred. Yeah. And then there's Nordics who are totally benevolent. Yeah. There are greys out there that are as evil can be, greys out there that are completely benevolent.
Right.
Yeah. There are reptilians out there that are as evil can be, reptilians out there that are completely benevolent. So if we're going to say that, you know, there's a really interesting thing going on this planet at the moment because somebody created that video to make me look out to be a reptilian, and I'm no more reptilian than anybody who's watching this, right? But it seems like it's like the reptilian has become the modern day version of the devil. Yeah. So if you want to demonize someone in today's world, what do? You call them a reptilian.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying there's not an evil faction of reptilians, you know, influencing and controlling things behind the scenes, because there is.
Right.
But we got to be careful not to become racist.
I understand. I just published a quantitative study by an organization, Free, that studied many of the interactions, over 2,200 reported interactions, and it crashed through all of the stereotypes that interactions with reptilians were negative. The study reported that there's a whole spectrum of interactions, and this is under scientific controls. So you're getting through a lot of memes that have been false memes that have been reported and built up around specific exophenotypes, or, you know, races like reptilians. So that's very true.
Yeah, because there's a lot of humanoid races out there that are just so evil. It's you know, and then you can have a race that physically in their appearance can be very, what we would deem as very ugly from our perspective on life, yet they can be so loving and you know, just want what's best for you. It's really quite amazing.
Now, there's a question which I'd like to ask you, because this is a you know, and I think that we're both looking at things through very similar, you know, a very congruent model. And so I want to see if we can get our terminology to work together, because I've started doing research on, quote, density ascension in a positive view, not in a deception point of view, i.e. outside of the, quote, Judeo-Christian God of creation. And let me just read a couple of sentences and see how you would interpret this, okay?
Yeah.
Density ascension, i.e. ascension through densities. For example, we're in the third, by this convention, we would be in the third time-space density, which tends to foster duality, consciousness of I win, you lose, and the vibrational change would be to a fourth density of a love-based reality, okay? So density ascension may be the planet's systemic response from a time-space third density, which AI, artificial intelligence, and service to self has compromised to a love-based fourth, fifth density. This density ascension may be synchronous with the, quote, great year or yugas that are cyclical portals opening every 25,800 year cycle around the equinoxes. This is a systemic way of how higher order universes assist in the process of soul development on planets such as Earth that have been targeted by third density AI and service to self. For example, that entity that is God, that has taken over the role of God, is a service to self entity. So that one mechanism by which the universe, as a kind of a self-cleaning oven, has taken is to take this third density, which has been compromised by the AI wave and by servant to self entities, starting with the hierarchical God entity. And it's a self-cleaning oven that just goes, and it disappears them from its third entity. They go off to other places because all energy recycles. And then souls that have elevated themselves, to more of a service to other, go into more of a love-based frequency. And then that third density sort of is a chamber that then can be used again for soul incarnation, but now cleansed of. And if you go back, and these are patterns that I discovered quite by synchronicity. If you begin to look at some of the channeled material, like the Law of One, they say, oh, once every 75,000 years, there's a planetary ascension. Well, if you look at that, that corresponds to 3 25,000-year cycles, and which are in the Western tradition, going back to the Greeks knew about it, the Romans knew about it. They call that great years. And it also corresponds to the yugas, which are also 25,000-year cycles, which all correspond to the going around the equinoxes. And we're now coming to the end of the Kali Yuga, which is 1 part virtue, 3 parts sin. Supposedly that's through in 2025. That's one of the estimates. So from my systems analyst, I got my undergraduate degree as kind of a system.
Wow.
So I tend to look at the universe from a systems point of view. And it looks like a great big washing machine, and it's great. It all works. So I'm trying to make it so that there aren't going to be people out there say, yeah, but George said that ascension was deception, and Alfred saying that ascension is happening. And then you're going to have a bunch of confusion and people throwing oranges at each other out of a conversation that you and I are having. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you and I can come to some sort of a conversation where we're using the word ascension and it all comes out good, or at least with not confusion, for me, what ascension means is kind of holographic or fractal teleportation of a reality from one reality that we can call service to self to another that we can call service to other. And this happens as part of designed or regulated soul development. The universal creator, or all those people that are involved in, for me, a universe is the machine for soul development, And we can sell you universe model A and model B, and we've got even new and improved universes here. See what I'm saying? So that's how I tend to look at universes, quite functional.
Yeah.
They're kind of theme parks.
Yeah.
Basically.
They are. That's why I talk about the sense of adventure and the infinite nature of life.
Yeah.
We create these universal realities, and we all go in them and have fun and learn how to.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a great cosmic theme park now.
Yeah.
And we can have all sorts of adventures. So I think that you and I are really tossing around this very congruent concepts, but it's the languaging, and it's funny. It's around the term ascension, and so when you said completion, well, then I said maybe I can get George to agree that completion is the end of one thing and the beginning of another. Well, that's an ascension, right?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and it is. It's not. When I say completion, is I'm completing my journey through the cosmic arena.
Yeah,
that's the completion.
And for me, that's what I see as ascension, i.e.,
well,
kind of through with a certain modality of being, you know, and then onto another modality of being.
Yeah, that's right. And so for me, you've got that dialectic of service to self and service to others.
Yeah.
And that's a dialectic. So what I'm about is, and the message I'm trying to share is, I want to transcend that.
Yeah.
And I want to go into a model where I'm empowered and I'm contributing. So I don't live a life of service to others. I live a life of contribution from a place of empowerment, because the service to others, you're still in a subservient servitude model.
Right.
In service under the higher God, and they're using that model to create collective hive minds. Alfred, this is
I see. I see.
This is the model that's being served up. This is the God part of the God matrix model. Not to you and I coming from the same place.
No, right. What we're doing is we're trying to refine the language.
The languaging, yeah. So what I've discovered is the model of service to self, service to others is a dialectic that's been created, because if you look at being the good Christian, it's about being the good citizen. And these people are functioning from, when you go into those heavenly realms, or you come across entities who you interact with from those realities, you'll notice that they're very well behaved. They have good protocol. However, there's this strange sterility about them as beings. It's that's what I call the conditional love energy. So as long as you're serving and as long as you're being a good citizen, everything will be fine and dandy. But if you stray from that, look out. So either you're with us or you're against us, sort of thing. And I know this is a very extreme version of it that I'm sharing with you, but they're creating these collectives where it's kind of like it's almost like you're handing all identity over. So they're really targeting the fact that you have an ego. For example, you'll notice the literature, the spiritual doctrine, it's all about, oh, you've got ego, you've got ego. If I, for example, function with confidence, and passion, then I get accused by the New Agers, the love and light, as I call them, or the New Agers, of having ego. So the way these collectives work is they pacify the people. It's part of what I've been talking for the last 15 years. I've been talking about the pacification program of humanity. So you awaken out of the trance, you start realizing what's going on in this world, and then it's kind of like, well, you want to start taking action, but then you come across a spiritual doctrine where people are meditating, and the meditating groups, you get these angels and ascended masters that come along, which are all part of the God matrix, by the way. And then they come, and then you consume this incredible light energy that they suggest you should consume in their doctrine. And then when you look at it from a cosmic level, what people are doing is they're drug taking, because they're consuming that light energy and they're getting high. And most of the time they're blissing out. So it's like drug taking on an interdimensional way, in an interdimensional cosmic manner. So a lot of people are not in touch with reality. We keep going from one level of doctrine to another, and then to another, and then to another. but to break through what I call the glass ceiling of the cosmic matrix, to crack that God matrix program, we got to break through all of it. And my languaging is very direct. Sometimes it's very confronting. It can be polarizing at times, because there is, unfortunately, the dialectic, this real big one of a natural creator and another entity who's claiming to be the creator. And it's a very big issue, because while we're all in theme parks and fun parks and having fun on one level, so beyond the great void up here, yeah, all these entities, including the God entity, right? We're all one, right? But down here below the great void in the cosmic arena, we're all role playing for one another, right?
Right.
So down here, it's on, Alfred, right? In the drama, right?
This is why you and I we've come to very similar models and very similar words. For example, omniverse is a term that we're now three of us. There's two scientists. There's myself and another person who wrote a book in 2014 separately called The Omniverse. You're now using the term omniverse, and it's all similar.
I've been using it for years. I wrote my book in 2012, and I wrote it in there. And
So there's a scientific principle that nature will have scientific discoveries in different parts of the world at the same time.
Yeah.
So your discovery, you published it around the same time in your book. I published this at 2014, The Omniverse. This other fellow, another scientist, published The Omniverse in 2014. This is all part of this is how these discoveries are brought down to the planet. So actually, if you can see can see the workshops that we're doing, Density Ascension now, it's because we show it from the point of view of the omniverse.
Yes.
But using those terms.
Yes.
And so to bring back those terms, rather than saying, oh, you're doing all of this wrong, we take the approach, this is what's right. You see what I'm saying? So, because I don't know, I've sort of shifted away from you can look at my work over the last 40 years and it's the eternal critic, I've gone in and I've criticized everything from, all of the war crimes and social programs and, all of us have that eternal critic in us to say, this is false, this is false, this is false, this is false. But now we're saying, such as you did today, this is really what is happening. So that's why I'm not going on the deception mode anymore, but rather say, this is how it works, which is what you said, this is how it works. So I think that we've achieved something of an integration so no one can create a false dichotomy.
Oh, no, we're so on the same page, it's ridiculous. I really want people to understand that. And that's why I got so excited when, we got together and the other times that we communicated and tried to get through and create this conversation, because we're conversing.
Conversing into.
No one's conning anyone here. No, we're conversing. I'm singing my song of life, you're singing your song of life, and my verse and your verse are coming together and we're co-creating, conversing. Yeah.
Good.
So I'm really excited. Yeah. And I wanted people to know that even though I'm sharing what's going on down here, I'm also sharing what's going on up here, and I'm also sharing what's going on all out here. And I want to remind people how brilliant and magnificent we truly are. And all my workshops about it are empowering people. People walk away completely changed and empowered. The next ones I've got coming up in Sydney and Melbourne, they're called Our Infinite Nature.
Yeah, and tell us how people can get in touch with your work and sort of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I've got a whole series of stuff coming out soon, and eventually I'm going to turn them onto online. So I'm going to give people from all around the world more access. That's the intention, and that's the creative process. So I'm going to present a workshop called Our Infinite Nature, and that's what the focus is going to be. I'm going to help people remember what it's like to be infinite. Because it's one thing to say it, but for people to start being able to feel it within themselves, well, that's a game changer right there, Alfred, because they're expressing their true nature from their infinite nature, where there is nothing that exists beyond them. See, there is nothing beyond you, Alfred. Well, your beingness. There is nothing greater than you. There is nothing beyond you. You're infinite. So I don't exist beyond you. You don't exist beyond me. There is nothing beyond me. And this is the real difficult thing for the mind to try and grasp, because the mind is entrained in finite terms within this universe.
Yeah. And our spirits can grasp it very, very easily, and it's been beaten into us that it's blasphemous to realize this stuff. So that's getting over that.
This is the forbidden knowledge, not just forgotten knowledge. This is forbidden
knowledge, and that's why you were taken to the Vatican, correct?
Absolutely, because we are. This throws the whole God program out the window. You expose God for what it truly is, who it is, and what it is. And I talk about these 3 layers of imposition. 3 layers of imposition, really important. Layer 1, we got the current ruling infrastructure, the powers that want to be and see themselves as our overlords, and that's the corporate, banking, religious structure, with certain levels of technology. Layer 2 is a alien God with malevolent AI, right? Level 2. Remember, alien God with malevolent AI teamed up together. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Layer 3, the third layer of imposition, is this God entity that I'm talking about. So what it's doing is it's in charge of layer 2, which is in charge of layer 3. Yeah? So right now we're experiencing layer 1, which is the once again the banking infrastructure, the corporate, the Rothschilds, the 6 ruling families, which the Rothschilds are employees for. By the way, they don't run the country; their overlords run the. They don't run the planet; their overlords run the planet. 6 entities from Atlantis. If you really want to know, let me. I know we've been talking for ages, but there is really so much to share.
Right.
Maybe down the track we'll do another one. So you're all aware of this symbol, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is big. I share this in my workshops, but this is massive. Okay. So you have 6-pointed star. This is their symbol, and the spiritual doctrine around this is their work. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So in order for me to be in a meeting with these beings, this council of 6 entities, right? It's known as the Council of 7, right? So what happens is you stand in the middle and you address these 6 entities and you become the 7th member of that council.
I see.
And that's how that one works. And these are 6 entities from Atlantis that have been alive on the planet and are still alive on the planet after over 14,500 years.
Wow.
They were the ones that ascended to power in Atlantis, and they were the ones that are responsible for the fall of Atlantis, because they've got their overlords as well, interdimensional overlords. It all eventually leads back to the God entity, by the way, right? So what we have here is these are the heads of the 6 most powerful, wealthiest families on the planet, and the Rothschilds is not one of them. I just want to make that point clear. The Rothschilds are the employees of these families. And one of them's in charge of military, one's in charge of banking, one's in charge of agricultural foods, one's in charge of, pharmaceutical. Now, they each have their, one's media, They
Now,
each have their,
are those guys inner Earth?
they're connected to that. This is where it gets confusing because of the factions. I mean, in the South Pole, you have the entry to Hyperborea, right? So the Hyperboreans are a more shallow level of existence to the Agathans, and the Agathans and the Hyperboreans all connect back to Aldebaran.
Right.
And there's a small faction from Arcturus, there's a small faction from Orion, but there's good Arcturians too, again, and there's good Orion beings too. So there's all these different pockets of realities in every star system. And these are the ones that are behind NASA. These are the ones that are, this is what's behind the Hydra.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
some of what you're sharing now is very congruent with what another whistleblower named Corey Good has been sharing recently, as reported by a colleague of mine, Michael Sala. Have you been keeping current with that, the sphere being alliance?
I have not seen anything to do with Corey Good. I heard 5 minutes of what he has shared, and that's all I know.
Okay.
What I've heard through other people is about the Sphere Alliance. I've talked about a big planetoid that's on the other side of the sun.
Yeah.
And a series of smaller planetoids. Yeah. I've been talking about that for years. Yeah. And that's the anomaly that astronomers can't work out, because this thing is on the other side of the sun and orbits exactly opposite to what we do.
I see.
Yeah. And that is kind of like their local way station. Now, this thing can go interdimensional. It phases in and out of reality. Okay. Sometimes it has an effect. It fades in. Then they've got to fade it out again. Sometimes you'll see it peak out from the other side next to the sun. Sometimes it'll just peak out. They get the timing out, so they've got to, recalibrate it. So there's a little bit of that going on. But the one thing that concerned me the most about what I heard was that they're trying to regulate the way the sun's energy is coming to the Earth. Yeah? So...
I think it was, it was the function of the Sphere Alliance, which their task is done, as I understand it, was to guard against the galactic superwaves. That is, outbursts of energy from the galactic center that then travel throughout the galaxy that can be destructive to solar systems and planets like ourselves. As I understand it, that's what they're saying.
Okay. So the what's known as the serpent rope.
I'm sorry?
What's known as the serpent rope.
Okay.
In South American Indian law, LORE law, yeah, it's known as the serpent rope. It is the connection that goes from the core of your incarnation to the core of the Earth, to the core of the sun, to the core of the galaxy.
I see.
Yeah. It's also known as the umbilical cord.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I told you about this pathway?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when an energy comes
right through your crown chakra?
No, I'm for me, chakras are part of the deception.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, they're a technological overlay. I and many others now help people transcend the chakra system.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how.
So then what would be the connection from the self?
Oh, it's in here. There's
fractal. It's fractal.
There's an energetic center.
Right.
For those who still have chakras, there's an energetic center beneath the chakra system.
Right.
Yeah. For those that know what I'm talking about, you put your hand here for your heart. It's if you're going to use a gland,
mm-hmm.
but it's not really the gland, but it's in the proximity of a gland. It's the thymus area.
Okay.
Yeah. In acupuncture, they call it the heart self point. And they call it that for a reason. And so when you stand like this with your arms straight out, mm-hmm. so there's a line that goes across here and then a line that goes straight down the middle. That's the intersecting point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you are the sword. Then when you emanate from that, from your point of singularity, your authentic soul expression emanates out from that. Then you embody logos, and then you cut through all the lies, through all the deception, and you cut like a sword, and you embody the sword. The symbol of the sword has always been the symbol of truth. You become logos. So that's that bit. Okay, back to the sphere alliance. So that, I don't want anyone getting between me and my relationship with my mother planet, my relationship with the sun, my relationship with the galaxy. As far as I'm concerned, those bursts of waves were the waves that were going to create great change here. And if anyone wants to get between us and that, then I have grave questions about that.
I see. That's a very good point.
So I'm in a very deep relationship with Mother Earth and the sun, and also the flat Earth theory. My goodness, seriously. Yeah, you've got to understand why someone would put that out and why they would want to do that.
Yeah.
Because, I've seen the planet from afar on many occasions, and I just ask all the people who think the Earth is flat, I'm just going to ask you to get out of your head and get back into your heart. And that's all you need to do. And you'll know.
Right. Okay, good. I'm glad that I'm asking all of these issues just to clarify.
Well, the flat Earth thing is, feminine energy is not flat and linear. Feminine energy is curved. This is all part of the agenda to continue to sever humanity from their planetary mother.
Yeah.
Because you've got, remember I told you about the false light. You've got you've got a false version. I call it the distorted masculine, because you've got a false version of masculinity. And then you've got the distorted feminine. You've got a false version of feminine energy. And you've got all this goddess worship rife through the New Age religion, and the goddess worship is the distorted feminine. It's not the true feminine. It's not natural woman, so all this goddess stuff. And now they're creating the cult of Gaia, which is another hijacking of Mother Earth's personality. It's a very real issue, because the feminine is rising back into her power. So they want to apprehend that. They want to capture that and steer it in the direction they want it to go. So to say that the flat is Earth and linear, for starters, is a very male, distorted male, because again, source of intention, right? Follow the energy trail, track it. Don't just listen to the argument, which is incredibly appealing to the intellect and to logic. That's all it is. It is nothing beyond that. And it interfaces with spiritual doctrine, religious doctrine. All right. So the energy that comes from these people that express it, like, they get really fanatic about it, hard line. And it's no different to, a Bible basher really having a good go at me. It's the same energy. I just find it very sad that they're fallen for it. And, it is the most ingenious way that they have been able to divide and conquer the fringe community, because, the fringe community was come along really nice. So, let's put something in there that's going to divide and conquer them and serve more than one purpose at the same time. Continue to sever them away from their planetary mother. Let's get into that relationship more. Let's really screw with it. Let's distort it.
This is back to the theme of the God matrix that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean.
I was gonna loop all the way back again, because we get all adventurous and excited, and we go off on all these little tracks, and we adventure this way and that way. So I was going to get back to my website and that sort of thing, but. Is it okay to express that, or did you have other questions?
No, please go back to that. We got sidetracked somehow.
So my website is called iaminfinite.love. Yeah, that's the URL. iaminfinite.love. Very simple. So when you read it, when you say it, it's not that just me, George, is that. You are that too. I want you to know that you are infinite love, because love is real. Love is the glue that you see in the infinite nature of life. we live in this incredible cohesive harmony together infinitely. No beginning, no end. And, to me, that is infinite love. That's how I experience that. And when I experience my infinite nature, I'm experiencing the infinite nature of love as well. And, for us to go into all these universes, to be in all these universes together, to co-create, to come into this one, you're a galactic being in this reality. Someone else is a star in your galactic expression. Excuse me. I'm probably a planet around that star in your galaxy. Other people are the flora or the fauna expressing themselves on my planetary body in that star system in your galactic reality. And you think, an incarnational species and aquatic beings and bugs and worms and trees and you name it. So you think of all of that in the billions of galactic systems that exist, how we are so interwoven with one another. The amount of love it takes to exist in such a massive co-creative process. It really, if you can sit and meditate on that, if you can sit and contemplate that, if you can sit and, here's how I recommend people do it. Go into your place of singularity and journey into it. Yeah? Take a journey into yourself and then journey into everything you're connected with. Because that's what I do. When I do my workshops, when I do my one-on-one mentoring, I will connect with my heart and soul to that person's heart and soul essence. And I journey into them. And that's how I learn about them. And this is how we communicate in the natural organic order of life. We integrate with one another and we are one another. It's not telepathy. Telepathy is mind-based communication, consciousness communication. Okay? So have an adventure over to my website. It's just been rebirthed, so we're still in the building phase, and there's lots of really good, exciting stuff to come. I got that book, which was published a long time ago. There's a little bit of 2012 stuff in there in the beginning, so just don't worry about that. Bypass that. But really explaining in more detail about all of this stuff. It goes into deep detail, especially about the moon as well. And give it a go. And it's a perspective from my upbringing, which is, the Western Christian sort of upbringing. So I go through all that, but also explain about, the different Buddhas, for example, how the program is all the same in all the religions, and also how you've got spirit fire and Jesus too. I explain how we went from the authoritarian father of Zeus, in our Western democratic model, and it went from Zeus with a lightning bolt and the eagle, the authoritarian father. They were softening him up there, and then became Jesus. So now you got the staff and the lamb. So it's the same energy, same entity. It's just marketed differently, so it's more palatable. So this is really confronting for people, but Jesus is the version of
you are being as about as confrontational as you can be.
Well, Jesus is the version of the Christ that the Pharisees want you to worship. Jesus is the version of the Christ that the priests want you to worship. Yet the Christ resides within, like the Buddha, resides inside each and every one of us, in our hearts and our souls. I don't have to converge with any entity outside of me. So this is a really interesting, I don't know how to put it, take on it, if you like. I'll just leave it there for people to try and work that out for themselves. But we just need to understand that behind every geopolitical model, there's a theocratic model. And the cult of Zeus was in our Western democratic model. The cult of Zeus was where democracy was born, and that was what was running at the time. And, that authoritarian model doesn't work after a while. You always get a revolt. So you've got to learn how to use love against the people if you're going to learn how to control them properly. So they had to bring out a more youthful, palatable version of Zeus and get people to love the authority that's ruling over the top of them. So just have a think about that. You can judge me all you like on that, because I'm not saying there's not a creator. I didn't say that. But I said God is not the creator, but there is a creator. And I'm not saying there's not a Christ, I'm just saying the version of Christ you've been handed, you might want to rethink that. That's what I'm saying.
You're very well said. Very good. You know, I really have. Is there anything that we haven't touched on as yet? Is there a topic that you had wanted to bring up in our wide-ranging interview that you have not had the chance to bring up yet?
Yeah, we've been in a path of devolution,
Mm.
not evolution. Okay, we've been in a much grander path of evolution, but we've been in a very specifically designed path of devolution from beyond ancient times. You know, when we created the original human vessel, and we had, you know, for want of a better term, the Garden of Eden, so to speak, we were indulging in great pleasures and great delights, for real. We were, and you'll notice I've left a word out there. We weren't indulging in desire. Okay? I want that differentiation to be quite distinct, yeah? We are, because we've been diminished into thinking we're not even allowed to have pleasures and delights in our life anymore. Yeah, we must suffer. That model of suffering, it is, whew, you know, and for the feminine to be free, she's got to get out of martyrdom, the martyr archetype. She's got to get out of the sacrificial archetype, and you've got to get out of the victim archetype. These are really powerful archetypes that just keep you imprisoned in this religious ideology, this spiritual ideology, which is what everybody's been living through. We've got to get out of that. We are natural creator beings. We have, when you tap into your own being and what you've seen, done, and been in this universe, you realize, wow, I've got so much wealth. I've got so much wealth. Incredible amount of wealth. I'm a galactic being. I'm countless star beings. I can't count how many planetary realities I'm the creator of, let alone all these incarnational experiences I've had, and embody myself as flora and fauna and aquatic kingdoms, and you name it. Wow. Think of the wealth of wisdom from all those experiences of all those incarnational constructs, and all the fun and all the interactions and all the learning. We have been the greatest warriors this universe has ever seen. We have been the greatest sages, nurturers, oracles, the greatest, healers that this universe has ever seen. So we have this wealth of resources inside of us. We are incredibly wealthy because we're in this fractal process. We're at the end of this integrative process. All these other entities that are coming here from the God matrix, you get these angels and ascended masters, and you get these ET races, and they go, oh, you poor humans, look at you squabble and fight amongst yourselves. Here, let us guide you. Let us welcome you into our galactic community, is what they say to us. And it's so condescending because we're the oldest, we're the wisest, we are the most powerful beings in the universe. We've created this reality from outside. Now we're inside the process. And we have allowed ourselves to become totally vulnerable to the greatest programs of limitation, the greatest programs of manipulation and deception this universe has ever seen. You know? And then you've got these entities that are coming here, continuing that program of diminishing humanity we're these pathetic, lowly beings that we squabble and fight amongst ourselves. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, their people are pulling the strings to force us to have mind control upon us, spiritual religious doctrine, which is subservient. They're coming at us through our food, our air, our water, our ley lines, you name it, and they're forcing us to go back to these raw, primordial, flight or flight animal instincts where we become violent and we become short-tempered and, you know, non-compassionate, and we're losing our humane qualities, where we're being diminished from our humanity into these barbaric animal entities, right? So they're doing that to us behind the scenes. Then they come in from this side and they say, oh, you poor creatures, look at you. You're so pathetic, you know. You're very backwards. You're a young race. Let us guide you. And then what they want to do is they create the problem, and of course they're going to come in with a solution, and they want to say, welcome to your galactic community, and they want to introduce us into the Federation of Free Worlds and the like, which is exactly like the United Nations on this planet. And what is the United Nations on this planet? Far from united. It is a control system, right, which is run by, other interests behind the scenes to take full control of the operations of all the countries on the planet. It is the same. As above, so below. You've got the same stuff going on out there, and these are the empires that are imposing themselves here, and they come with fancy technology, and, like scientists, like little boys with new toys, it's like, oh, and they create all this awe and wonder, Alfred, and they're presenting all this amazing technology, and we don't need any of it. We don't need any technology, Alfred. We don't. We can do everything from within our own being and our relationship with our reality, with the mother planet, with the sun, with the galaxy, with the universal creator, and our relationship with one another. And when we get into that process, we have the ability to do anything. We can bilocate, we can manifest anything we like. We don't need any of their technology or their guidance. And we have our natural qualities. When you remove all these control systems, what's the first thing we do? Is we revert back to being humane beings. When there's a disaster, you just see how people just get in there and help one another. We are truly humane beings. That is our natural state. We're not these lowly humans, as they like to label us, where we squabble and fight. Naturally, we are humane beings. And I want people to understand what it means to be humane and to live that and to live through their infinite nature. That's what I'm here to do. And remind people who we are, where we've come from, and what it is we're actually doing here.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website now. I am infinite.love, and just reading, you two are infinite. And you write, I am infinite is an expression of my work that helps people to understand that the time of the great change is upon us. As sort of a final sharing with our audience, what is the great change?
So it is what you alluded to after. It's like the ending of these great years and these great cycles. And the change is that we are finally at the point where we have been going through these cycles of devolution, and not just the 3 great years that have passed. We're talking, this has been well over 300,000 years, this cycle of devolution. And it's been a really powerful programs of cleverly crafted genetic manipulation, mind control, and also the manipulation of this reality. Yeah, because the natural environment has also been distorted. It's been infiltrated and distorted through the fungal kingdom, actually. That's the fascia of the earth. And that's how the original infestation into the way the natural environment become distorted. Because we were in harmony with everyone and everything, even in the natural environment. There was no consumerism, right? So what happened is, for us to become consumeristic too, we need to be immersed in an ecosystem that is consumeristic. So we were in that place where everything was in harmony. We communicated with the animals. No one ate anyone or anything. We were all living as light energy. And over time, that model then needed to be tested. So we allowed these other energies to come in and start tinkering and playing and modifying. And each cycle we incarnated in there, because we are part of that creator group that co-created this reality. So we've got to own it, take responsibility for it, and we're a part of the process. We're no better than anybody else. So each cycle you enter into it and play your role in it. And now we're at this very end of this massive cycle. And this is the age where this level of imposition, the greatest imposition that this universe has ever known from this God entity, we are now at the point of liberation from that. It's been a very long, hard and arduous road, and we're all very tired, Alfred, and we just got this last little bit we got to get through, and that's the realization that we are infinite and that we're in a co-creative process with an awesome being called, which I descriptive label as the universal creator. You can experience that being within your own heart and soul. It has no name. It's just a presence that's there. and we are liberating ourselves from this other entity who has been the best personal trainer on a universal scale you could have ever wished for. What an awesome being. As hard as it being, and the misery and the pain and the suffering we've all been put through, I have so much admiration and love for that being, because I wouldn't have become who I am today without all the challenges that were put before me by that entity.
Well, thank you. And we really want to thank you for all of the insight and work that you're doing and that you've brought to us today in these interviews. And we look forward to you joining us again in the future as events develop.
Yeah, it's I've got to say, everybody, thank you, Alfred, because I've always been a great admirer of your work, great inspiration to
thank
me.
you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are. And also that hang on for the ride, everybody, because things are going to get pretty crazy as we move forward. And don't ever lose sight of who and what you are. And I really recommend that each time a major event happens, the first thing you need to do is take a step back from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all going to be designed to draw you in. Yeah.
Right. You have said so many profound truths today, and you embody that truth. And so thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks, Alfred. Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for being with us on this journey. It's been fun.
Absolutely.